So good day again, mom. Now I will report about the learners with difficulty communicating, prepared by Derwin Gadiane. A, a communication difficulty or disorder has trouble communicating with others. It is the definition of communication difficulty. They may not understand or make the sound of speech. The person may also struggle with word choice, word order, or sentence structure. So the following are the causes, symptoms, and effects of communicating this difficulty. So the first cause of communication disorder is the physical problem, such as a problem in brain development. Person with disabilities like communication difficulty suffers because of any problem in brain development or mental deficiency. They can create or build directly on their speaking, especially in strangers. Also, they suffer in understanding and listening to other people. The next cause is the exposure to poisons, toxins during pregnancy, such as street drugs or lead. Their suffering sometimes also from the illegal drug prescription or any poison they have taken. Exposure in illegal drug and chemical toxins can cause and damage their cognitive development. So the third causes of the difficulty in communicating is the gene problems. Sometimes people inherit their disorders because of the genes from their families that cause negative development in their mental health. Probably they un- unfortunately unfortunately inherit this disorder from their mother's or father's side. Each child with disabilities may have different symptoms, but these are the most common symptoms in the child young. So now let's go to the symptoms. The first symptoms is not speaking at all. This is a symptoms of a communication difficulty. The brain stops in functioning or processing the ability of building words, sentences, and grammars in speaking to everyone. It is sometimes called mental block. So the third symptoms is the limited word choice. This is one of the most common symptoms in difficulty communicating. The brain limited the abilities of speaking because of mental deficiency or damaged brain development. It is also the symptoms of being afraid or lack of confidence in person gathering, as maybe they are afraid in speaking that they might say an offensive, inappropriate, or awkward line. Example, based on what age and experience of the person with disabilities, his or her capabilities or vocabularies uh, are limited because of the reason of mental deficiency. It limits the person's vocabularies in speaking. Another reason is um, he or she must be bothered or afraid on what he or she might said to others. So the third third symptoms is the trouble grasping simple directions or naming objects. A disabled person who has difficulty in communicating also suffers in understanding or listening directions or any kind of memorization. Because of the law of mental development, they can barely understand what other people mentioned or said. Example, example is when a child with difficulty in communicating asks uh, questions or directions to strangers. They might not understand directly as they suffers in processing sentence or on what the strangers have said. So now let's move to the, the effects of communication, the effects of communication difficulty to learners. Having difficulty saying or generating words or sentences is one of the effects of communication difficulty. People who have communication disorders suffers in creating or building sentences or grammars. As they try to communicate to others, especially to strangers, they suddenly lost their focus or confidence um, in, in speaking. Yeah, in speaking. They are afraid that they might cause an awkward or offensive communication. Having difficulty in understanding what other people are saying. Sometimes they suffer this disorder because of they are afraid in human contact that bothers them a lot. It also happens when a person lacks in understanding correctly because of deficiency, which gives them a difficulty in listening or understanding. So no, the next is have having a difficulty knowing how to interact socially with other people. This disorder develops when a person is afraid in communicating because of lack of confidence and afraid of others' judgment. They sometimes avoid in human contact or human gatherings, maybe because they are having a trauma in their past experiences, like afraid that they might offend others. Also, it happens when they are not good in trusting other people or strangers. So the last effects of communicating difficulty is find it hard to fully access learning opportunities at school or college. It is hard for them to learn, especially in secondary and tertiary education. Um, it is because of reporting, communication to others, and lack of self-trust or confidence, which are the most important thing in the class. The higher the education, the more pressure and obstacles for them that needs to overcome. So that's it. So thank you.